Well, thanks a lot, and it's really an honor to be here. One of the things that we had in terms of our insights, in terms of what we can do at the state level to help veterans, is to understand and appreciate that, particularly in the state of Florida, we have a wealth of people who are willing to give time and resources to things that will benefit veterans. And so we didn't want to create new government bureaucracies. What we wanted to do is do what we could at the state level, but really leverage a lot of the great energy that takes place in this state. And I think we've done that with a number of things. For example, one aspect of our forward march was identifying gaps for active duty personnel in terms of legal services, because you may get orders to deploy and your landlord may be fighting with you about whether you can pause your lease, or you may have a family law issue, all these things. Well, they may get those services on the base, but those people, those officers cannot go outside the base and help them. And so we enlisted all of Florida's top law firms to be able to create a reservoir of pro bono resources so that those folks will be able to get that, and that obviously affects peace of mind, allows them to be more effective. And so that, I think, is a way we can really make a difference. And so here, this is not just some resources. I mean, for Steve Cohen to put this amount of money into this particular issue is really, really, I think, without peer in terms of individuals who have done things to benefit our veterans. And so what we want to do in the state of Florida is obviously to welcome this support and then do what we can to leverage that to benefit as many veterans as possible. With the mental health and the post-traumatic stress, we've actually come a long way in treating a lot of the physical wounds of war. I mean, if you look back at 100 years ago, we have tens of thousands of veterans from the post 9/11 conflicts that would not have survived those wounds in previous conflicts. But with modern medicine, we got a lot of very brave people who work as medical doctors and corpsmen, in the Navy they're corpsmen, to get out on the battlefield and help people who've been injured. And so what you've seen is people have been able to live purposeful lives, even with significant wounds. But man, those contributions, I think, are very, very important. And we much rather be treating wounds than losing people. And so I think that has been something that has really been positive. You can see the physical wounds of war. I mean, if you see somebody, maybe they lost a limb, maybe they suffered some type of disfiguration. You can see that. So, obviously, we do what we can to treat it, but I think everyone understands that. And we've done things in Florida, some of our organizations, like building houses that are specially designed for a veteran that may have certain limitations. And so everything, because you think about your daily life, if you all of a sudden didn't have use of your arms, just the things that you would do, and it makes life terrible to live. So they figure out ways to do it so that those inconveniences can be minimized. And I think it's great. It's a little bit more difficult to understand what I say is invisible wounds of war when you have veterans who are suffering from things like post-traumatic stress, because someone may look fine coming back and you don't see. And then even if somebody is acknowledged to be in need of services, you don't always know whether what you're doing is going to be effective or not. So it's a very difficult problem. And I think what's happened since 9/11 is you've seen a steady increase in attention to veterans' mental health issues. This is something that we've never really done a great job with. I think we're doing much better. We're starting to understand, I think, things in a better way. And when I was in Congress, I mean, what I saw with doing oversight over things like the VA is, look, the VA, it's obviously very bureaucratic. They got a lot of rules and regulations, and a lot of that has been in place since even before September 11th. It's very hard to change and stuff. And so when you have people in the charity or private spheres that can fill gaps, I mean, it's very, very important, because these guys here at the Cohen's Veteran Network, if something isn't working, they can change really quickly and try to find something else. They don't got to go to Congress and get the law changed or go through a rulemaking or any of that, or worry about where they're going to get the. So that is very, very important. I think it fills an absolutely critical role. And I also appreciate the fact that, one, this is not just active duty and active duty veterans. I mean, they're also serving people in the reserves and in our National Guard. In Florida, that's very, very important. I mean, our Guard has been very active in performing a lot of key missions over the last 15 to 20 years, and they're continuing to this day. They're in some very, very serious spots around the world. So I think that's important. But then also the fact that they really view veterans' mental health as a family issue, not just the veteran, which is obviously important, but when you have veterans who are deploying, it's not just the veteran that has to deal with that. It really does affect the spouse. It affects the kids. And really, it's a team effort. And I don't think enough credit is given to our veteran spouses because it's a very difficult situation if you have a spouse deployed 6 months, a year. When I was in Iraq, we had the Army was doing 15-month tours. So when we got in there, you had a brigade combat team that had gotten in mid-November, I think, of 2006. So you have the members missing Thanksgiving, Christmas. They're there the whole year, and they would get a time to go back for a little bit, but not a lot. And then they miss the holidays again. So 2 times they do that, and that takes a toll. So seeing this as a family issue, I think is great, and I think that means it's going to be we're going to have better opportunities to have success with this. When you're forward deployed, I think one of the things that really stuck with me is the number of people who were still relatively young. I was over there 07, 08. So, I mean, but since 9/11, you had people that had spent more time since they were 18 in Afghanistan and Iraq than they had in the United States. And what we were doing, because we didn't have a draft, we were focusing on the people that were willing to do it, but that was a small segment of our population. And they were being asked to go over and over and over again. Well, that takes a toll. I mean, that's just the way it is. And so here today, I think Tampa is going to have great resources to be able to help treat our veterans that do have wounds that are real but maybe invisible to the naked eye. And I think the Congresswoman said it very well. This is one of the top military communities and veterans communities in the country here in Tampa. If you look at the active duty mission with some of the most significant combatant commands headquartered at MacDill Air Force Base, and then the fact that many veterans choose to live in the Tampa Bay area when they retire. Of course, we've got a lot of good places for veterans throughout Florida. I mean, a lot of them like Northwest Florida, Northeast Florida. So we appreciate that, and we have the 3rd largest veterans population in the country. I think if you did the numbers, our percentage compared to population would even be better than places like California. So it's something that really matters to us. But we really view it as a team effort. Government can't do it alone, so we want to work with all these types of groups to be able to have the best veterans experience we can. And Cohen's Veteran Network, they're stepping up to the plate really, really big here in Tampa. I know they're talking about doing more throughout the rest of the state, so we're going to welcome that. And I think part of the thing is when I noticed being active duty is like, there were resources available, but it was very confusing to know like where to go and this and that. And I think what they've done is a good job of really publicizing this so people understand, that you have a place to go. And I know they've been in touch with people at MacDill. I'm going to have my National Guard leadership sit down with them so that we can steer folks in the National Guard here if this is something that could benefit them. So this is a very good day. I look forward to continuing to work collaboratively with the Cohen's Veteran Network and really appreciate everything that our veterans throughout the state of Florida have done for our country. We would not be free without their sacrifice. So thank you, and God bless to them.